What's happening, party people? I am on my last day here at Texas. We'll be back in Cincinnati tomorrow. Getting back to work, getting back to appointments, getting back to the grindstone. So, hey, I appreciate you all watching. In this video, I was still in Las Vegas before I went to Albuquerque to deal with the engine for Panther. Man, I did have a little oil leak on Panther I had to deal with, and we got this part in that we was waiting on, and it wasn't the right part. But anyway, I updated the video for P2 heater cores, which should be helpful. So if you need to contact me, go to my website. My phone number is there. My email address is there, robertdiy.com. Again, I want to remind you all, please do not send me text message videos. Upload those videos somewhere. Send me a link to them. Also, probably not taking restricted calls. So if you call me, just call me like a normal person. I'll help you like a normal person. And I appreciate you all watching. Let's try to get the likes or engagement up to 50% in this video. I haven't seen that happen yet. The closest was 25% for a little while. Then it dropped all the way down to like 11 or 12%. So if you are watching this video, hit the like button. Let's see if we can get at least 50% engagement. Thanks for watching. Got Panther going. Headed to lunch with Willie Gilly out here in Las Vegas. 224,000 miles. 49 degrees. Feels warm in the car because of the sun. Man, I missed shifting gears, boy. Look at this, shifting gears. Let's get down here and go have lunch. What's happening, party people? I am about to get cracking. Believe it or not, our package arrived, some Swedish car parts. It made it to Las Vegas on the 12th, and it rolled in today on a national holiday. I can't believe they're delivering packages on a national holiday. So anyway, I'm gonna get this V70 in here and replace the heater core and do some coolant stuff and get this car out of here so the lady can come pick it up. A few days ago, we were doing a transmission flush and an oil change, and my buddy seen that he needed to add some coolant into the coolant reservoir, and he had just done that a few days prior. So I told him to check under the steering wheel, that panel under there, to see if the carpet was wet. And sure enough, as soon as he put his hand down there, he got a drop of coolant on his hand. So we knew it had something to do with the heater core leaking. So I'm about to pull the heater core, replace it, do a coolant drain and fill on here, and be done with it. You do not want to be playing coolant roulette. You should not be adding coolant to these vehicles. If you're adding coolant, it's leaking somewhere. I'm going to remix this video. The one that I have posted has some flaws in it. At any rate, you could do one of two things. One, you can clamp off the heater hoses under the engine. I'll show you those. Two, you could drain the coolant out of the system and clamp off those hoses. May not be necessary to clamp them off if you drain the system. Three, you want to run the system full hot before you shut the car off to drain any coolant. First thing you want to do is start the car, have it running for a few seconds, turn the climate control on and run it to full heat. That will move the arms out of the way of the heater core lines so that you don't damage those when you go to pull a heater core. So you come in here, you start the car with the car running. You turn the heater control on, full heat, both sides. Leave it like that for 30 seconds. That'll make sure those arms move behind the dash and get out of your way so that you can get that heater core out without damaging those lines. Then you want to cut the system off. Turn the car off. Now you can get started. Now that the car is off, either jack the car up, put it on jack stands, or roll the car up on ramps so you can get the radiator drained. If you're going to do that, if you have hose pinchers, you could pinch off the hoses to the heater lines there. See those two lines? You could pinch those off. Since I'm doing a coolant drain and fill, I'm going to go ahead and drain the radiator. So I come down here, and here's the radiator. Sometimes you'll have a splash guard over this that you need to remove. This one doesn't have that. So I'm going to take this loose. You could put a hex in there to get it loose, maybe a hex 6, or you could put a 13 millimeter out here, or whatever it takes to get this radiator drained. So let me put a catch pan under it, use a 13 millimeter, break that loose, drain all the coolant out, and I'm going to remove the cap off of the coolant reservoir so that it drains out faster once it starts rolling. I got the coolant draining out the reservoir. Now I'm going to open up the reservoir cap so that can speed up the draining process. You don't have to take it all the way off, just have to crack it. Now that should be draining a lot faster. Draining faster. Not as fast as I thought it would, but we put the socket on it. Open it up a little bit more. See if that matters. There it is. Open it up a little bit more. Draining nice and fast. If you're going to use hose pinchers, they will go on there like that. I don't normally have good success trying to pinch two hoses with one large pincher, so I normally use two individual ones. They come in a kit from your auto parts store for 15, 18 bucks. Now my radiator has stopped draining. You can close that now or close it later, but remember to close it. I'm going to close mine now. Hand tight is enough with that. You could check it for leaks when you fill the system back up, but do not over tighten that. That's plastic. You don't want to break it. Next, you want to come in the vehicle, remove your floor mat, remove the panel under the dash. So you got two T25s there. Remove those two. You should be able to work this panel down with a bone tool and then remove this panel right here. And to do that, you want to move the seat all the way back and turn that a half a turn with a coin or something, and turn that a quarter of a turn so that it's straight up and down with a coin or something, and then you'll be able to maneuver this panel out. Let me get this one first. So I actually am going to pull this one first. I turn that a quarter of a turn, got it out, worked it back and down. So you can see how that's hooked up in there. And the front hooks do the front panel. And then on the front panel, I pulled these two T25 screws. Then that comes down easy and pull that out of the way. And as you can see, it leaves that dome light. Now you can look up here and see that these heater control arms are out of the way. Next, I removed this brake light switch because it's in the way of the heater cord coming out. I unplug it so that the brake lights don't come on and stay on the whole time. After I unplug it, I push the brake pedal in and pull the white thing all the way toward the brake pedal arm. That way, this will unclip easy. Just to be clear on getting this brake pedal switch out without damaging it, you want to push this part. It's a two-piece switch. You want to push that all the way in while it's still in a bracket like so. Then you want to depress down on the brake pedal and pull this white part all the way out as such. Then your clips are easy to compress and maneuver this out. If you don't do that, you're probably going to break one of the tabs. Push on one of the tabs, get it unlocked, and then wiggle it out, and it'll come out. Now you have the brake pedal switch out of the way, and you can work on removing your heater core. First thing I would do is pull those two clips out. Those two clips are facing toward the back of the car. You put something in there like a long needle nose pliers, and you massage them out toward the back of the car. You may have to pull a heater core out just a little bit to get that in. So you pull that T20 screw right there, get the heater core out just a little bit before you get that thing all the way out. And you can see a little bit of leakage on this heater core here. This little crud, this stuff building up, and you see my fingers are wet down here. So this heater core is leaking. See a little wetness down here. That screw is actually a T25. I pulled it out of there. Next, I'm gonna put a trash bag, some plastic up under here, or a towel or something to catch any coolant that's gonna leak out of here. I don't want coolant wetting this carpet up real. Trash bag's in place, the screws out, the arms are out of the way. I'm gonna pull a heater core out a little bit, then I'm gonna get those two pins out. I got the top clip out first. I pushed the ends a little bit with a flat tip screwdriver. I pry it in there with a short Phillips to get it started out. I hooked around this tube onto the clip, pulled it the rest of the way out. The bottom clip is out. Now I can pull this pipe out of the heater core. A little bit may spill. And move it out of the way, and then pull the whole heater core out a little bit so I can get this clip out, because this clip is hitting this little screw thing here. Pull that out, pull that clip out, and then pull the pipe out of it, move it out of the way. So let me get the top pipe out of the way first so you can see it. I got that little pry bar there, prying it out, I guess about a 1/2 inch. Now I'm gonna grab that pin and pull that out of there. I'm not gonna put it back the same direction, but I gotta pull it out. I had to pull it up a little bit to get it past part of that bracket for that. Guess that's a blend door motor there. Let me try to get that out. It's gonna bend a little bit coming out. So I got it that far out. I'm gonna work it the rest of the way out. And there it is. Try not to bend it too much because you got to put it back in. And you may want to have one of those pins on hand just in case. So now I'm going to pry the pipes out of there and move the pipes forward so I can get the heater core to slide out. I pried both pipes out, let them leak into the plastic bag. Not that much coolant's going to come out of those things. So there they are, they're out. Now you want to move this, bend them forward a little bit so you can slide the heater core past them. Slid the forward pipe forward and the aft pipe aft. Now I should be able to get this heater core out of here. When you get it out so far, next you want to release the steering wheel, pull it out back toward the seat as far as you can, and push it down as far as you can. Not up, down. That gives you just a little bit more space down there when pulling that heater core out when you get there. Now, as you look up under here, the top of the heater core is just barely getting past that yoke. So you work that down past there and work it out. And now you're ready to change those seals and get ready to put the next one in. Now this may or may not be the original core. I didn't check the date before I got it out. But when you get another heater core, you want to make sure you have one from a Volvo parts supplier so that you know that it'll fit. You do not want to try to put one of these things in that don't fit. Those lines could leak. It'd just be a nightmare. So you want to see how the gasket is installed around these. And on your new heater core, you want to install the gasket like that if it's not already on there. Sometimes the gaskets come shipped inside the heater core package and it's not attached. There are several vendors that sell heater cores. I like to get mine from Swedish Car Parts or a couple other places, but you want to make sure it's a Volvo supplier. You just don't want to have fitment problems. So let me go ahead and open this one out of the packaging. And here, this one, let's get the box the rest of the way open here. How this box open. And we got the wrong one. Not sure how we did it, but we ordered the wrong heater core. Before you get started on the job, if you ordered a part, you want to check it, make sure you got the right one. And I've seen a little oil sitting under my car, wondering what's going on. Because I know it shouldn't have no oil cooler line leaks, because I don't have any oil cooler line. And look how far my dipstick is out. And that's a newer style dipstick, so pop the dipstick somehow. Been blowing oil everywhere. So let me check the oil level and see if I'm low. I might need to top that up. I bet I need to top that up. Figure out why I'm blowing my dipstick out, other than worn pistons and having blow-by pressure because of that. We ordered the wrong core from Swedish Car Parts, so we went and got one from O'Reilly's. And I don't have the gasket on the bottom yet, but this is the replacement core, so they look very similar. We like these with the metal crimps on them, and I have to put the insulation on the bottom. It doesn't look like they sent enough insulation to go on the sides, so I'll wrap what they gave me around the top like that. So I'm gonna wrap around the top, put that piece on the bottom, and see what I have left. One thing I did notice is these seals look thin compared to the ones that came with the Swedish Car Parts core. I'm gonna pull the seals off of the core that was there. Hopefully they're not smaller, but we'll take a look. That could be a point where they could leak if those gaskets are smaller. Had enough to go around the top, and got the thing on the bottom. I just don't have enough for the bottom edge. I don't think that's no big deal. So I'm gonna put this back in the way this one came out, and getting this out of here, when I push down on it to get it past the steering knuckle, you may see that I smash those fins a little bit. Those fins do not leak. So if you have to muscle this in just a little bit and you bend these little fins, that's not a problem, as long as you don't mess up those pipes in there. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11 pipes. Those pipes is what actually carries the coolant. These fins allow the air through. So let me go ahead and maneuver this in place and secure it with that screw and lock these pipes in. I'm gonna lock the top pipe in first, the bottom pipe in, and I'm gonna put new gaskets on there. But I'm gonna check these gaskets to make sure the ones I got are large enough. If they're not large enough, I'll probably go to the dealer and get new gaskets. Well, these new gaskets is the right circumference, but man, they are almost half as thick as the old gasket. Now for the hardest part of the job, you've got to replace the seal on the pipes, push the pipes in, and push the pipes in tight enough to get this clip in. Now this clip was bent that I pulled out of this bottom one, so I straightened it out to a certain degree. So I'm gonna push it in this way, like I explained. However, I gotta push that pipe in while I push that clip in. So I'm gonna push the pipe in with one hand, and I'm gonna use this to push the clip in. I gotta get it all the way in. You see the top clip, it's almost all the way in. The top pin is all the way in, the lower pin isn't, so I need to work on that. But I'm gonna put this one in, and then I'm gonna try to pry on that pipe to pry that lower one the rest of the way in. It needs to be all the way in to prevent leakage. So let me push the pipe in, push this clip in with that small needle nose pliers, and then try to get the top one the rest of the way in. And that is the most difficult part of the job, getting those two clips pushed all the way in. The top one, I pushed it in pointing toward the front of the car. The lower one, I pushed it in pointing toward the back of the car. So now we're going to fill up the coolant system and start the car, run the engine for several minutes, allowing that coolant to circulate through here and checking it for leaks, making sure it don't leak here at these connections. Make sure you close your drain in your radiator before you do that. This is how much coolant I got out. Maybe try to measure that, make sure I put at least that much in. Preferably you put the manufacturer coolant in. This looks like Volvo green. It could be a universal coolant, but we're going back with the Volvo type, which is the G48. This is already 50-50, so BMW, Mercedes, Mini, Tesla, and Volvo. I didn't know Teslas use coolant. Anyway, that's what we're going back in with. And if you pinched off those heater hoses, go ahead and unpinch those and make sure you didn't break the hoses and cause a leak there. I was able to get a full gallon back in there. It is filled up to the top. It is going to need to be burped and topped off. If you don't have a system to burp that, you'll need to drive it, let the car heat up to full temperature. Once the car gets up to full temperature, you can ease that cap off and top it off, or you wait till the engine cools back down, remove that top, and top it off. If you do it with the engine running, it should be the last time you have to top it off. If you just let it cool down, pull the top off, and do it that way, you may have to top it off twice. But we're going to go ahead and start the car, let it run several minutes, and check it for leaks. After you have both pins in and secure, put in that T25 screw there. And come back here, make sure you have no brake lights illuminated. Set your brake light switch the way it was, with the white tip pulled all the way out, this pushed all the way in. Now you want to plug this in, go back and check and make sure your brake lights come on. Don't install it, just plug it into the blue plug you unplugged it from. Once the brake switch is plugged in and hanging, you should go to the back and see the brake lights on. As you can see, the brake lights are on. You got one here, and one up top over here. Now you want to lock this brake switch back in the bracket up there. It only goes in one way. It's got this tab here. So you maneuver this up in there. You push down on the brake pedal so that it's out of the way. You wiggle this in until you hear it click in place. Make sure it's locked in top and bottom. It's got little ridges right there on the switch that locks it in the bracket, top and bottom. Once that's locked in, you let the brake pedal loose and it will reset the whole switch. You don't have to do anything else. So let's go ahead and put it in place. I can probably do it. Somewhat blind here, but I want to use two hands because I want to push in on the brake pedal. I got it set in place. Now I'm pushing on the brake pedal. Now I'm going to push in the switch until it clicks all the way in. Let's see if I can set this where you can hear that happen. Push this down, massage the switch in place, clicked in top and bottom. Now let it go, and it resets. Now the brake lights should be out behind the car. And as you can see, the brake lights are out. So as you can see, the temp gauge is almost straight up at 12 o'clock position. When it gets up there, we're gonna let it run another 5 minutes. Then we're going to shut it down, let it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes. Then we're going to start it up, take it for a little test drive after we make sure the coolant's topped up, and drive it for about 5-10 minutes. Then let it cool off for a couple of hours and check the coolant level. Most of the time I tell people, drive it where you need to go. The rest of the day, if the low coolant light comes on, stop and service it. If the low coolant light doesn't come on, the next morning it'll probably be on. Top it off the next morning and you may be good to go. All the air may be burped out. We're right almost at the full mark. The full mark is at the line of the reservoir. So we're going to shut it off, let it sit 10 minutes, then start it up, take it for a short test drive. So here we have no evidence of leakage. We don't have any drops coming off of there. Those connections look dry. That's good. I'm gonna move this to the cold position so you can see those arms move. That's the driver's side going to cold. That's the passenger side going to cold. And I'm gonna turn this system on and you see those move. With those in the cold position, the back side of these arms are in the way of the heater core. So if you pull the heater core out with it like that, you will likely damage those adjustment arms. So I'm gonna go back to warm with them. That's the driver's side going full hot. I guess you only have to worry about the driver's side, not the passenger side. Now that is up and out of the way, I'm gonna go back to cold with the driver's side. See how that comes down? When that's down like that, it's in the way of the heater core. That's full hot. Still don't see no evidence of leakage. That's good. Again, I'm gonna repeat about the Volvo heater system. The hot coolant is always coming inside to the heater core. When you go to cold, it doesn't cut the flow. The flow closes the door in the dash so that the hot air doesn't come through the core and into the car. When you go to cold, it closes off the heater core passages and only lets cool air come in through the vents. So coolant is always flowing through those lines. As you can see, the temperature level is straight up 12 o'clock. It should stay there. We're going to go ahead and shut the car off, let it sit for 10 minutes, check the coolant level, then take it for a test drive before we put these two panels back on to check for leakage. Here are the tools I use to replace the heater core. First of all, you want to make sure you have the correct heater core for the vehicle. If you order the part, open the box, check it, make sure it looks like the one here. These are the tools I use to replace the heater core on this P2 Volvo. Should work the same for V70s, XC70s, S60s from 2001 probably all the way up at least to 2007, maybe even higher. If you're going to crimp off the hoses, you want these hose crimps. I use that rubber mallet to help tap the lines back into the heater core. Once I was going back in, of course you want gloves to protect your hands from chemicals, a pair of pliers depending on what kind of drainage cock you have on the bottom of your radiator. I use a 13mm deep socket and that ratchet to break it loose. I only use my hand on the socket to tighten it back in. I got a 1/4-inch drive ratchet with a 1/4-inch T25. I got a bone tool. I used a quarter to take the panel loose beside the seat. I have a pair of needle nose pliers. Hook needle nose pliers may be a little better. Have a small pry bar and a flat tip screwdriver. Of course, you would want a heater core. Make sure you have the one that looks like this if you're dealing with that P2 Volvo before you get started. If you're going to change the coolant, you want almost 2 gallons of coolant if you're going to flush the whole system out. If you're just going to drain out what comes out, put back in, you'll need at least 1 gallon, maybe 1.25 gallons to top the system back off. You want a trash bag to put under the floor of the car so you can catch any coolant that leaks out. And of course you want a catch pan to catch the coolant that you drain out if you're not going to pinch the hoses off or you plan on replacing coolant at the same time. Most of this coolant is designed to go 150,000 miles, so you can replace coolant every 150,000 miles or however often you want. I try to use the Volvo coolant. If not, G48 is a good substitute for the stuff that come out of most of these Volvos. So I use this Volvo G48, BMW, Mercedes, Mini, Teslas, and Volvos. G05 is also compatible with this G48 stuff. Or of course you could get the concentrated stuff from Volvo and mix it 50-50 with distilled water. Job takes me about an hour, hour and a half if I have difficulty putting those lines back in. So allow yourself anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours to do the entire job, and you should be good to go. It's at about 10 minutes. I'm almost at the minimum line, so I'm gonna fill this up to here, a little bit above the maximum line. Then I'm gonna take it for the test drive, bring it back, let it cool off. So I'm gonna take this cap off real slow and try to fill it up to here on this thing, and hopefully that'll burp out right where it'll be at the max line after the 10-minute drive. After my test drive, I'm still bone dry. Looking good. No drips down there, no drops down there. I'm gonna go ahead and put this panel on first. It has a couple of press clips on it and 2 screws. It's got a press clip here. Looked like a press clip broke off there, or the guide broke off. There was a guide that went in that hole, and 2 screws. And then the panel here will hook into this one in the front and those slots, and then that little turn screw down there. Coolant level is at the minimum mark. That may come down a little more once it settles or next time it's driven. I got a little bit of power steering fluid right there from that hose. Getting on there is probably not enough to matter, but if you want to dry that up, that is a hard hose to replace to the power steering rack. So you may want to tolerate a little bit of leakage there. Just keep an eye on it. Let's check the level here since we did replace some fluid in there. I think that's still full. And last but not least, you want to check and make sure you don't have any leaking right there at your radiator drain. And you can put that panel back on if you had to remove that, and you're all done. Again, I appreciate you watching, appreciate your support, appreciate you for hitting the like button. I'm looking forward to seeing at least a 50% engagement on this video. And man, if you need some help, go to my website, give me a call, and of course, let other Volvo people know that hey, we're here trying to help Volvo people keep their cars on the road. So look forward to continually bringing you guys some daily content. And again, thanks for watching.